Welcome to this week's edition of Falcon Focus. We are masked up, we are socially distanced, and ready to go. It's exciting because sports, at least games that count, will take place this weekend from the Ozaki Ice Center as ACHA hockey gets their season underway with a weekend series. First, home on Saturday against Adrian before they visit the Bulldogs come Sunday. So we'll talk first with Brandon Richards. He's back for his third season as the ACHA head coach, the fourth season now for the program. In our second set, we will talk with women's volleyball head coach Janelle Katz. My name is Matt Menzel, and Coach, first of all, thanks for your time here this morning. It is exciting because finally games that count here during this COVID-19 era. How excited are you to be playing some meaningful hockey this weekend?
I'm so excited, more or less for the boys right now, just because they've been itching to get on the ice. But myself, I'm ready to go. Hopefully get ready to go on Saturday.
Before we go too long, just I guess refresh some fans and maybe those that maybe aren't familiar with what ACHA hockey is. What is the difference between Falcons NCAA hockey versus Falcons ACHA hockey?
So Falcon ACHA hockey is run under USA hockey terms, whereas Falcon NCAA hockey is ruled by the NCAA government body there. And then NCAA hockey draws more talented players from the BCHL to the NA to the USA, different tiers. Whereas ACHA, they kind of focus on high school players or tier 3 junior players to build their roster up.
You guys are in training camp or practice right now in preparation, of course, for this weekend. But take us through the past, few weeks. How has practice or training camp look different from maybe, training camp practices in years past pre-COVID-19?
Well, it's been tough, obviously, with the different pods. At practice, you can't practice at full capacity. So just focusing on skill sets, different skills to work on. And then the past 2-3 weeks here, we've actually been able to get a full roster at practice and start working on our systems and just kind of getting prepared for these next couple games and then preferably for the spring semester.
I was going to ask you, okay, so you talk about, the focus, whether it be skill set to the systems. Now that it is a game week, does practice look a little bit different from what it did, say, last week?
Yeah, we're tuning up a few things this week. We just had practice this morning. Again, just trying to get everything tuned up for our game on Saturday. Going over some systems and just making sure that the boys know everything.
You looked last season an exciting, a successful season for the ACHA program, which saw the Falcons advance to the NCHL HAP Cup Tournament Championship. With that being said, okay, so after last year's success and the way the season came to a close, is it fair to assume that expectations are that much greater now for this 2020-2021 campaign?
Yes, definitely. We are looking to go back to the HAP Cup, get a conference championship this year, and then we're looking to go even further and try to go to regionals and then make a national championship run as well.
You look at that HAP Cup Tournament Championship, ended up being a tough 4-3 setback at Marion in overtime. I guess when you look back at that particular game, and I know it was an exciting run, when you look at the difference in that outcome, how would you summarize that championship matchup?
Well, what people don't know is that we played 3 games that weekend, whereas Marion only played 2 games. We also only had a roster of 11 skaters to Marion's 23 guys, right? So we have 11 guys that are busting their butt that whole weekend. And to take Marion, a number 3 ranked team in the region, to overtime for the first time in program history with 11 skaters, it shows to our character and what we have to come for this year.
Certainly a lot of exciting moments in getting to that tournament championship and looking back heading into that tournament championship. Falcons have won 11 consecutive, and at one point even to start the year, you guys were unbeaten in your first 12. But in your opinion, when you look back at that run, winning 11 straight, going into the championship, the HAP Cup Tournament Championship, in your opinion, what were the keys to that remarkable run?
Well, it starts from the net out. Starts with our great goaltending that we had, and then guys just buying into the systems. That's the big thing. When we start running around doing selfish hockey, it doesn't work for anyone. Last year, the guys bought into the systems, and it showed. We were able to make plays that 2 years ago we weren't making. So bringing in some guys that know the game, and it just worked for us for last year and hopefully this year.
Yeah, you talk about, okay, 2 years ago, 14 wins, up to 25 last year, a 25-5-1 campaign. Was that kind of a surprise? And you talk about bringing guys in, but I guess the jump you guys made from, say, 2 years ago to last year, was that kind of expected? Was it obviously you hope for it, but was it kind of a surprise?
Wasn't a surprise for me.
Okay.
I knew the team I was putting together, and I knew what they were capable of. So looking at our schedule, I was very confident in coming out on top and having a really good record. This year I was really excited, but obviously with COVID, it's kind of changed a little bit. But these next 6 games are going to be tough for us, but we're looking to hop on the ice and show what we got.
Let's talk about the schedule for a second before we talk about what you guys may have here this winter, because that is a good point. Right now we sit and wait to see what the ACHA schedule will look like come 2021, as that has yet to be publicly announced. What did you have to go through to, I guess, even get some of these non-conference matchups scheduled? I got to believe that's kind of what had to be a challenge to get some teams that want to agree to play here before 2021.
Yeah, so it's been tough to get teams to play right now. Obviously, there's a lot of schools that aren't playing right now or aren't even on the ice at that matter. So just trying to reach out to teams in our conference first, and then teams in our league. Just reaching out to see if they're able to play, if they're testing, following all the protocols. So we've been fortunate enough to have 6 games so far on our schedule. It's been a day-to-day scheduling status. Things can change tomorrow, but we're fingers crossed here for Saturday.
Yeah, 6 matchups, as you mentioned, coming up here in November and on Halloween, home and home against Adrian a couple of weekends, and sandwiched in between will be a weekend against Iowa State. So with only a couple of teams on last year's roster, and you look at the roster makeup this season, and you would think experience would certainly be on the Falcon side. Without having seen any game action, what do you feel could be strengths for this season's team?
We're very young right now. We have a majority of our rosters filled with sophomores and freshmen. So just trying to see what they're going to bring to the table. But other than that, we should be all set.
One area where you have some depth is at goaltending. You have a player like Mac Willie, who was your primary goaltender a year ago. He is back. You had some other experience between the pipes. What do you expect? What's the competition been like for that goaltending spot?
It's been so hard at practice. We have 4 goalies that I can put in and be confident in getting a win. Even our freshman, Vincent Falcone that we got, he's been performing lights out at practice and really challenging the upperclassmen. Mac looks good. He's all set, ready to go. And then we got senior leadership from Dakota Delbridge, bringing that NCAA caliber to practice, which makes it a lot more interesting. And then also our Ian Robertson, who we got last year. So right now we have 4 goaltenders that I can put in at any given time.
And with that being said, how do you go about determining who's going to start from maybe one game to the next? And how early do you like to know that? How early do you want to have that decision figured out? For instance, for this weekend, do you want to know, is it a game time decision? Is it something you like to have figured out by Thursday, Wednesday?
Well, with these 6 games that we have, it's it matters, but at the same time, we're just trying to gear up for hopefully conference play
Sure.
in the spring. So just trying to get everybody, games in. So right now we have a couple goalies that we want to look at for certain situations, and just trying to gear up for spring. So trying to play everybody as we can.
A couple of names that stand out. Looking back at what they were able to accomplish last year, maybe even the year before that, Matt Gregor, a name that comes to mind. He was a Ashland Ordocker during his prep days, and as a sophomore, 7 goals, 26 assists. He made some great strides, didn't he, from one year to the next?
He is very consistent in his game. I know exactly what to expect from Matt Gregor. Night in, night out, he's going to be the same style of player. He's fitting into our lineup really well. As a key contributor, and I'm excited to see what him and his brother Scott have to do for this season.
Another name that comes to mind is Cody Faber, his senior year, now here this winter, but last winter he had 19 goals, had 28 assists, but all those 19 goals, he had 4 game winners. He also scored 6 times on the power play. What do you hope to get out of Cody in his final go-around?
Well, Cody's he's our senior captain this year. So, other than leadership from what he brings, he's more of a do it on the ice kind of guy. his work ethic is bar none. Nobody on the ice is going to be working as hard as he is. He wants to strive to be better each and every day, and he has a national championship focus right now and nothing else. So right now we're looking for bigger things.
You mentioned there are a number of freshmen and sophomores of the roster. Who are some of the other guys maybe outside of the three names we mentioned with Willie, with Gregor, with Faber? Who are some of the other guys maybe we should be keeping an eye on here, at least in these first now 6 matchups or so? And what, as you mentioned, hopefully will be preparation for conference play come 2021.
Well, our other senior leadership is coming from Wyatt Wilderman. We've moved him to defense this year. In the weekend of the Hack Cup Championship, he won MVP. He was unbelievable for us as a defenseman, so we moved him back this year. And then as far as incoming freshmen, we have John Switek coming from the East Coast from Rochester, New York. Looking for him to make a big impact on us. And we also have E.J. Halleck, defenseman from Florida, coming in on the back end to help, build that stride. As far as sophomores, we're looking for another big year out of Trenton Sherman out of Minnesota, and looking just to build off of our run from last year as well.
I was going to ask, we mentioned a few questions ago, what are maybe some strengths for this team? I guess, again, as you mentioned, with these 6 matchups here in non-conference, all in preparation for hopefully will be a conference slate, what questions or concerns do you maybe have going into these 6 that you hope to get answered in time for come January?
Well, right now we want to focus on our defensive side of our game first. Obviously, having 4 top goalies that we can put in and having a very strong defensive core. I want to just know that we can stay with teams and keep the game close, and then just watch on our offensive production and just make sure that we're producing at a good rate, and making sure that we're having consistency across all 4 lines. So that's one thing that we haven't had in the past, is now we can actually have 4 lines going at a time, and that we're not tired at the third period.
I guess finally, before we look at this weekend, how about for you from a coaching standpoint? Last time we had you on this program a couple of years ago, it was year number 1 for you as the ACHA head coach. Now it's the 4th season for the program, your 3rd season at the helm. How do you feel like you've grown into this role from a coaching standpoint? How do you feel like you've grown as a coach over these first now 3rd season?
Yeah, I definitely feel like I've matured over the past 3 years. Taking the time to, take a step back, take a deep breath if things aren't going right, asking my players questions more or less than, me demanding things. So just trying to make sure that everybody's involved rather than, again, my first year when I came in, I thought that I was, big man on campus, but, that obviously opened my eyes real quick. So just learning from my guys and my guys learning from me, trying to build that relationship with them and to make a good program and for Concordia so that we're ready to go.
And as mentioned this weekend, things will get started on Saturday, Halloween, from the Ozaki Ice Center at 1:30, dropping to the puck against the Adrian Bulldogs, their ACHA program. Sunday will be at Adrian, a 5 o'clock Central drop into the puck before Iowa State here next week. And I guess, what do you expect? I know Adrian, from a hockey standpoint, just all around, traditionally a strong hockey school. I guess, what do you expect to see from the Bulldogs here this weekend?
Well, we're looking for a good, clean fight between both programs here. Last year, as far as rankings go, I think we finished one ranking higher than they did. So if they're bringing back the same guys and we're bringing back the same guys, it should be a really close game.
Looking forward to it. Again, Saturday at 1:30, we'll have the broadcast for you on the Falcon Athletic Network. Ozaki Ice Center, ACHA hockey between the Falcons and the Adrian College Bulldogs. Coach, thanks a lot for your time. Best of luck here this season.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
When we come back, segment number 2, we talk women's volleyball with their head coach, Janelle Katz, here on Falcon Focus.
Being a part of the different activities and organizations that I've been a part of, I'm actually able to see myself where I'm like, hey, I actually can make a change. I'm one person that can make a difference.
Division III has helped me to develop teamwork skills, critical thinking skills, time management skills.
It's not just about basketball, or it's not just about school, it's about developing yourself as a person altogether.
Welcome back to Falcon Focus. On to segment number 2 as we talk women's volleyball with their head coach, Janelle Katz, back now for her 8th season at the Falcons helm. But first, got to make sure we got the hand sanitizer to keep everybody safe. It'd be helpful if it was unlocked again this week. So we make sure we got the hand sanitizer and got to make sure the air is disinfected as we get things rolling here in segment number 2. Coach, how you doing?
Good.
It's got to be a little different sitting here. It's almost November, and in years past, you're preparing for another successful run through the NAC volleyball tournament. But instead, there's really nothing volleyball related to talk about at this moment. So how are you coping with the fact that there is no season at the moment?
It's definitely weird. But I think we put some great plans in place to get us ready to go for spring. It basically, what we told our team is we kind of flip-flop seasons. Generally we have our non-traditional spring, and so we're just like, we're having our non-traditional now. We just finished up with that, got a lot of reps in, got a lot of individual work, and then kind of getting ready, gearing up for the spring season and a NAC conference season. So
it's crazy to think, as we sit here, the last time we saw the Falcons volleyball team, the women's volleyball team, in a match that counted, you have to go back to November 9th of 2019, the NAC Tournament Championship at Aurora. Overall, though, when you look back at that 2019 season, that's all the Falcons go 22-9 and finish in a tie for first in the regular season NAC standings. Because what thoughts come to mind? How would you go about assessing what we saw in 2019? Seems like a long time ago, too.
Yeah, it does. I think that was a really good season for us. We had some young players coming in that really stepped up and took big roles for us. We had some injuries, some unfortunate injuries, and now this year we have our big sophomore group, our juniors just 1 year stronger, our talented freshmen into sophomores, and I really think this is going to be an awesome year for us because everybody's coming in with a year under their belts and really wanting to get that back-to-back conference championship this spring. But yeah, so I'd say like last year we were a little bit young, and now with that extra year we kind of have a little bit more veterans on our team, and kind of gets us excited to see what we can do in the spring.
We'll talk about some of those players in a moment from what you saw here during what was a fall training camp as opposed to an actual season, but you did lose 6 seniors from that 2019 squad, and among those, you lose Megan Mayer, Kendall Stribling, Ariana Richmond, and Holly Anderson, who was one of those players referenced that was bit by the injury bug for most of the 2019 campaign. But when you look at that senior class, certainly success associated with those 6 seniors. I guess, what do they mean to you? What do they mean to the success of the program during their time here?
They did a lot. They really did a lot. They really helped put our program back on the map. They were part of, our they had 3 conference titles. They had 2 NCAA appearances, 2 conference tournament titles. So really just putting us on the map. In all of their 4 years, we were ranked in the Midwest region, top in the Midwest region for the AVCA. And they just did a lot for our program. They led the program. They kind of taught the underclassmen, this is how we do. We are a championship team. We go for it. So we were lucky enough this fall training camp, Megan Mayer actually helped us out, and Kendall Stribling was able to help us out. So they were able to stay around a little bit, which was pretty cool to have them help us out. But yeah, they really helped put this program back on the map, and we missed them. We missed them. It was a little different this fall season, but it was nice to get some extra help here and there. And I know a lot of them are in grad school right now, so I still see them around the building. And a lot of them like, hey, if you need a practice player. And I'm like, well, during these times, unfortunately, we're not able to do that. But, so.
And, it's funny because you look at the impact, and certainly every year you graduate a senior class, typically, in this case, 6 seniors. You have voids to fill. From a recruiting standpoint, do you see the writing on the wall like in advance, like, hey, after the 2019 season, these are the spots we have to fill. These are where we need to recruit? Or from a recruiting standpoint, you just go out there and get the best players you possibly can and hope it kind of falls into place?
It's a little bit of both. Like we, like this freshman class, we were really working towards kind of getting every position because we lost pretty much a senior in every position. And then this year we have a senior setter, 1 senior. But yeah, I think every year we're just going out, we're trying to get good players to come in, that's a big thing of ours. But we also kind of look, okay, what do we need? What would be a good supporting cast for what we already have in our program on our teams?
You mentioned it when talking about the seniors. When you look at the last number of years, okay, 4 consecutive conference tournament championship match appearances with a couple of tournament championships, 3 regular season titles as of late, with a couple of NCAA tournament appearances. Outside of players, can you look at and point at certain areas and say, you know what, we've been strong in this area or that area over this time. This is why we've been able to not only have success but maintain that success?
Mm-hmm. I think we're one of those well-rounded teams. So we were really good on the outside, in the middle, on the right side, and we were able to spread out the wealth a lot, and that was tough because a lot of teams we faced they were pin heavy. They had really good hitters on the pin, but maybe struggled in the middle on the right side, where I thought what really brought us, we had that uniqueness was we had a well-rounded team. We set the middles a lot, we set the right sides a lot, just as much as we set the outsides, and so that well-rounded offense, I think, was something that a lot of teams weren't used to facing. And honestly, defense was a really big focus of ours. We've been usually top in the conference with blocking, so I think that's also been a huge thing for us.
Have you noticed too, it's got to be tough. You guys can't afford to take a night off because it doesn't matter where a team may be in the conference standings. It's a big deal to beat Concordia, and that's the reputation you guys have built now. Is it's a big deal to beat Concordia in volleyball. Do you notice that though? Like you get everybody's best. It seems like on a nightly basis, regardless of where they may be in the standings.
Oh yeah, and that's what we're constantly telling the team. Like the teams in our conference, they want to beat us. We're top dog, top in the conference, and everybody. Like, even if they're trying to take a set from us, they have nothing. A lot of times, maybe they have nothing to lose. They're just going to give us their best game, and we have to make sure that we're ready. So that's kind of our pregame speech with every conference game that we go to.
So with no fall season, there was certainly practice and training camp here in the fall. That I'm guessing looked a little bit different here in a COVID-19 era.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, how did you guys go about, just dealing with training camp and practice?
Yeah. So the first few weeks, we did the social distancing. So we did a lot more individual training. So we just have pin hitters come in, and we just work on pin hitter training. We'd have setters come in and just work on setter training. So a lot more individual play, a lot more filming and watching film, really slowing it down, working on technique and form, like getting that down. So I think individually, a lot of the players really improved and were able to kind of learn our system a little bit at a slower pace, but I think it helped the freshmen a little bit coming into it. So we did that for a few weeks, and then we got into, when we could do the testing and things like that, we got into more high contact practices, 6-on-6. So doing those individuals, I think, really helped kind of get off some rust, because we've been off for a while, get off a little bit of the rust, and then we were able to come in and do that 6-on-6 stuff. And it looked really good. We had 2 scrimmages, at the end, just to kind of put on that jersey again, compete against each other, and it looked really good. So, we were excited about the fall season, and it's kind of getting us more excited for the spring based on the talent that we have this year.
And I wanted to ask you about those inter-squad scrimmages, because you end up playing over 2 dates, 11 total sets, and there were some pretty competitive sets, especially when it was varsity against varsity. There's some neck and neck battles. Did you feel like you got everything you wanted to out of that in preparation for the season?
Yeah, I think it was like, let's get everybody some competition time. Let's see how they do. We kind of intermingled everybody, as you could tell. Like, we switched. We did the blue-white scrimmage, so some were wearing white jerseys, some were wearing blue jerseys, and then we're constantly switching. So we're kind of trying to see matchups, and just honestly have them compete and work hard to earn a spot. And they're making it hard for us because they're all looking pretty good right now. So just a talented group. So very excited about that.
It's crazy to think when you look at the roster, there's only one listed senior, that being Christina Stinson, and she was on our show a couple of weeks ago. And, amazing personality to have on not only in volleyball, but just here on campus. How important does a player like Stinson become, being that she is the lone senior on the roster? Her leadership, her personality, how important does somebody like that become to this team's success?
Oh, she's extremely important. She's just one of those players that everybody gets along with, everybody respects. she does a great job. She's always whatever it is that our team is doing that we've set up, like she's there, she's helping, she's making sure people are there. She's got a lot on her plate. We have a large roster. So, we have 29 on the roster right now for both varsity and reserve. But she does a really good job at intermingling, helping out anybody that needs that help, and just that, like you said, that personality that that draws players to, and just that positivity that she spreads throughout the team. I think she's done an amazing job because she had to do this throughout the spring season when last spring when things were just starting up, and then having to do it throughout the summer and fall. She's really stepped up and done an amazing job.
Some of the players I want to mention, just based on watching the blue-white inter-squad scrimmages, you had Jenna Chaussee, Olivia Richter, Sophia Collins, you have Gabrielle Pavlik, McKenna Neagle, some of the players that are back looking to take on, maybe expanded roles or increased roles here this upcoming spring. Plus, you have a freshman class. You've had a lot of sides there in that freshman class. I know you touched on it a little bit, but how is the competition as far as, okay, right now you sit here, you don't have to make any decisions until February, but lineup-wise, do you have a pretty good sense what direction you're going? Or, again, as you kind of touched on, did things kind of get a little more complicated based on what you've seen now in practice and training camp?
Yeah, I think, there's definitely a few players that kind of stepped it up a little bit more. You could tell that they did what they needed to do over the summer, and just stayed in shape and were ready to go. But for the most part, I think everybody did that on the team, and just really were competing and working hard, and everybody is really working hard to get that spot. So I think it's just going to be a really, really competitive spring. And it's just going to make practices exciting and matches exciting. And I think we'll have definitely a lot of depth this year. Speaking
of depth, a position you know real well, that setter role, and obviously the attack runs through your setter. And it seems like there's a lot of depth at that position. We mentioned Stinson. She can certainly be a setter. Mackenzie Verts is back. But then you have Sierra Lee, who's back for another year, and she showed a lot of athleticism in those blue-white scrimmages. You have three others that could potentially be a setter. So I guess when you look at that position, could that really be, I don't want to say the top strength, but a certainly one of the top strengths of this team?
Yeah. I think we have a lot of talent in that group, and it's like, okay, we're kind of looking at who can lead that team and who can run the offense efficiently, and they're all doing great jobs so far. And I think, to be honest, teams that can make it far are teams that have that great setter position. So,
and I got to believe for you, that's a position that's near and dear to your heart. I guess when you watch setters, what do you watch for based on your experience from playing that role?
I think a big thing is just athleticism. Do they move quickly? Do they see well? Do they make good decisions when play calling? And of course, you look for skill. Do they have good hands? And if they have those qualities, then you know that you can develop them into a good setter. So I think I look for those setters that aren't afraid to be leaders on the court, that talk to their hitters, okay, like we're doing this, and that, and just have the hands and that athletic ability to be able to improve and improve their game at the college level. So,
talking about you a little bit, you had an outstanding, well-decorated career at Menominee Falls High School with the Wisconsin Badgers. I guess when you look back at your time, growing up through the sport of volleyball, what memories maybe stick out, or maybe are there some highlights, from your time, whether it be as an Indian or as a Badger, that really, stand out among the rest? I know I'm testing a little bit. Yeah, I was going to say testing a little bit.
If I had to go back to high school, I think what was kind of unique about what I did is I played middle hitter in the front row, and I set in the back row. I played a lot of positions, and I think that really honestly helped me in my overall game. I was able just to kind of understand more positions, what they might need, just see the court differently from different positions. So I really enjoyed that part of being able to be a middle hitter in the front row a little bit, and then set in the back row, which is not a normal position. And then, the Badgers recruited me as a setter, and that was pretty exciting for me. It was kind of like a new challenge because I honestly, in high school and club, it was more of hitting. Hitting was my number one thing. So then when I went to college, I knew it would be more setting. So in college, it was a lot of like learning how to be like a 5'1", 6'2" setter. And what I loved about becoming a 5'1" setter is like I could still be, offensive and aggressive with like front row setter dumps and things like that. So I really enjoyed doing those drills and getting that chance in matches to be offensive, because when the hitting was when I couldn't hit anymore, that was something that I was able to do.
Something I found unique and interesting is the fact you look at your family. Everybody in your family's name starts with a J. Your mom, dad, and all your sisters. And you have a sister that played volleyball here, a sister that played volleyball with the Milwaukee Panthers. I guess when you think about volleyball, what's your first memory of the sport or being associated with the sport?
Yeah, I mean, being the youngest with 3 sisters, I think it's just like, whether it was they played, our main sports were volleyball, basketball. I think it was just like being in the gym, with them, and just seeing them play. I honestly, I think helped me a lot. And just like my dad being a football, I know he was a football coach, but just being around athletics a lot and just being able to be in the gym and see things, I think helped me become, and it actually, it made me competitive. Like I saw them do well in their sport, and I was like, you know what? I can do well. I can do better than you. So I remember I always would make it a competition, like, oh, I'm going to do better than my sister and things like that. But yeah, I think just being in the gym at an early age and just being exposed to it, like, really helps.
When you talk about your dad, Jeff Gabrielson, an outstanding football coach, even better person. He was here for nearly 2 decades at the helm of the football team and now a high school athletic director. Was it always a thought for you that after your playing days that you would kind of follow in his footsteps and go the coaching route, or how did you, come about becoming a volleyball head coach?
I mean, it was kind of it just happened, honestly. I wasn't sure if coaching was something I wanted to do. I loved the sport. And things always came a little bit easier for me. And so I just didn't know if I would have that coaching ability, just because I was able just to like learn and figure it out and not have to necessarily get taught. And so it's like, okay, so so I was like, oh, I'm not sure if I would make a good coach. And I came here for grad school. I was thinking I wanted to get into counseling at the high school level. And then I was the GA and I coached volleyball, and I was like, man, you know what? That was awesome. That was an amazing experience. I love it, and I am not ready to give it up. I absolutely love volleyball. It's like just still my number one passion. And so being that GA for a year really just like ignited it, and then the head position opened up, and I was like, why not? I'm going to go for it. And now here I am. So, I at first I wasn't sure, and then, after just doing it even for one season, I was like, this is awesome. Like, just the players at the Division III level and how invested they are and how much they listened and were excited to be a part of it was awesome.
And having your dad, granted a different sport, but again, coaching background, how big of a resource has he been in your development as a coach?
Oh, he can tell you the beginning years, especially like every other day, like, oh, how did you go about this? Like, how do we do this? Like, things like that. But yeah, I definitely, if there's any issues or things, like, he's definitely a go-to for me, and like how he handled it. I know it's a little different, like dealing with female athletes and male athletes, but it's kind of fun to get his perspective on things. And I mean, he was a successful coach, so he's definitely a go-to person for me.
Well, you mentioned then, okay, you're the grad assistant at Concordia. A year later, you get promoted to becoming the head coach. How special was that for you? First of all, becoming a head coach, but then also doing it at a school where it's almost like you grew up here because your dad was upstairs coaching football for, I'm guessing, most of your youth.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of surreal. It was just like, I remember being on this campus, like, I would be here, like, honestly, one of my summer highlights, it's probably weird to say this, but was football camp. Mainly because I would just roam the schools. I'd get in the gym. I would have the open gym, and I'd shoot hoops. I would play some volleyball. And I just knew this school like the back of my hand. I remember my sister who came here, I actually gave her a tour. I was like, oh, I know my way around. Oh, here, let me show you around. And just to see, just some of the older generation that's still working here, and they see me in the hallway. They remember me as like little Nellie running the halls. And it's just kind of cool to just still be a part of it, because, I just remember growing up here and this was one of my favorite places. So
And it's crazy to think this is already your 8th season now at the helm. I want to wrap it up by, I guess, just looking ahead now. Okay, so we sit here end of October. What happens between now? Does anything happen between now and February before, you get practicing again for the upcoming spring season, volleyball-wise?
yeah.
I mean, is it kind of a quiet time?
Yeah, it's a quiet time. So we kind of are working with our players to come up with like little plans that they can do on their own, so that they can keep up the skills that they've learned in the fall and bring that back in the spring with them. But yeah, we have that year-round strength and conditioning schedule that they're all looking to continue to follow to stay in shape. And then we're kind of giving them those personalized volleyball drills that they can do on their own. And yeah, hopefully they'll be ready to go again in February.
And hard to believe, again, February 28th will be the season opener. I guess we'll wrap it up by asking just about the schedule. Okay, 12 matches. 4 of those will be here inside the John Boog Fieldhouse, including that opener on the 28th against El Verno. 1 match a date, always a tough one against Aurora. You face the Spartans coming up on the 7th of March. I guess, in your opinion, obviously, it is what it is, and it's not a normal year by any means,
Right.
but just your thoughts on the way the season's going to break down with 12 matchups in really a short amount of time.
I mean, I think it's just going to be like, hey, we got to go. We got to go from day one. There's no preseason. There's no, non-conference matches to get us set up for conference. Like, when we're starting practice, we're getting right at it. And then it's like every game, we can't take this for granted. We have to be at our best every single match from here on out. So I think it's exciting in a way. It's like, hey, we don't have room or time to like not play well. We have to be on our game day one, ready to go. And I think that's pretty exciting to be like, hey, let's go. Like, we have a couple weeks of practice and then we're right into matches, and that's what it is. So
well, we are looking forward to it,
Yeah.
Coach. Thanks for your time. Best of luck
Absolutely.
here this winter into February. And that's Janelle Katz. We also thank Brandon Richards, the ACHA men's hockey head coach. Again, their season gets underway on Saturday at 1:30 against the Adrian College Bulldogs. Thanks to Sam Dunn and Jeremy Crawford behind the scenes. Matt Mental, thanks for joining us. This has been Falcon Focus. And again, as long as it's safe to do so, we'll do so again next Tuesday here on CWFalcons.com.